Well, for all of you just joining us, welcome to our voter/election information session. Join with me today is Claudia Castro, who is the Democratic Administrator for Burlington County Board of Elections. Quite a mouthful.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, it is.
I saw that and I was like, who is this elite person?
You're too funny.
And also joined with us is Kristine Holland, who is the Deputy Mayor of Delanco Township. Thank you both for joining us today.
Hi, of course.
Thank you for having us.
There is a live chat, so we're going to be asking questions. We already have some here that we have sort of gotten via social media. So we have a list here that we're going to be asking our guests. So I was just wanting to start off really quickly. If you guys could just give a little bit about, yourself and, what you're doing, maybe even how you're doing and what job and what your responsibilities are. That'd be great. Maybe Kristine, we could start with you.
Sure. So like you said, my name is Kristine Holland. I am an elected member of the Township Committee, and from there was appointed by Mayor Templeton to serve as the Deputy Mayor, which basically means that if he is unable or unavailable to preside over a committee meeting or oversee business of the town, that I would step in as the acting mayor. In terms of my role on the Township Committee, there's 5 of us, and we're responsible for reviewing and approving the budget and overseeing programs throughout town to ensure that they're effective and worthwhile expenses. We review and pass ordinances and myriad other things to keep the town kind of running. So it's been an exciting first year. So.
Well, congratulations. Thank you. Claudia?
I am the Democrat Administrator at the Burlington County Board of Elections. There are 2 administrators. There's actually one of each party of everything in my office. Everything's one Democrat, one Republican. Even our staff, we have 2 full-time staff members, Democrat and 2 full-time Republicans. My office, it's funny because everyone thinks, oh, you're just busy at the primary in general. Like, no, we're busy all year long because there's always municipal elections and different kinds of elections all year long, school board. But what my office mainly does, or what we're mainly known for, is we assign the polling places, we hire poll workers, we receive all of the mail-in ballots and count them. So that's going to keep us extremely busy this year. And with this becoming a predominantly vote-by-mail election, we've had to make serious preparations just to make sure that our staff is safe, that our voters are safe, and that polling places are safe. So it's been quite a challenge, but we're ready for whatever this election brings our way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you both for the work that you've been doing and continue to do. I hope you guys keep in it. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Zaire Carter. I'm a Delanco resident. I went through Delanco schools. I went to M. Joan Pearson School. I went to Walnut Street School. For high school, I went to BCIT Medford on the theater track. And now I attend Muhlenberg College in Allentown, Pennsylvania, double majoring in theater and political science.
That's incredible.
Not too bad. Well, we'll get started here with the first question, and I'm hoping Claudia, you could actually take the first one. I just wanted to prep. And this is and I know this is probably going to be an in-depth one, but will the elections in Burlington County be any different this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic? And if so, which I'm pretty sure is yes, how are these changes? What's the impact here? Tell us a little bit about that. Sure.
Will it be different? Absolutely. Everything about this election is different. New Jersey is already a vote by mail. You are able to vote by mail in New Jersey. We've offered that for many years. So if you don't want to go to, say you work a different shift or you may be out of town or whatever, we've always offered vote by mail. But with everything going on with the pandemic and schools being closed and everyone just trying to stay safe and stay, away from other people, basically, Governor Murphy made this election a predominantly vote by mail. So what that means is there's going to be fewer polling places. Everyone's going to receive a ballot in the mail. If you're a registered Democrat or registered Republican, you will get a ballot for that party. And if you aren't, or if you haven't voted in the past 2 federal elections, you will get an application. Or if you're unaffiliated and not a Democrat or Republican, you'll get an application. You'll fill that out. You'll send it back, and the county clerk's office will send you a ballot. What else is different about this election is even though we offered vote by mail before, we're going to have fewer polling places. So instead of being able to go to the polling place and run in and just make your vote on the machine, you can't do that this year, this election. You have to go in and you vote a provisional ballot, which basically is almost the same thing as your mail-in ballot that you got in the mail, except you just fill it out in person at that location. And one thing that is important to remember is that you can't drop off your mail-in ballot at the polling places. So lots of different changes, and everything's available on our website. If you Google Burlington County and then Board of Elections, like we have all the polling places and basically a rundown of all the different changes.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
That is great. So if you just go to the website, Burlington County, and look at the election that has all the polling places.
Yes, and another change that we made this year, or Governor Murphy made this year, is each county has ballot boxes, which we've never had before in Burlington County. So there are 5 secure boxes, almost like mailboxes, but they're under 24-hour surveillance, and we check them every day. And the election day, 8 o'clock, making sure that they're locked. We're getting the ballots out. So if someone's not comfortable mailing their ballot and they may be too far from Mount Holly to drop off their ballot, there's it's in Pemberton, Cinnaminson, Mansfield. All the different locations are on our website too. But that's something that's new for this year, for this election as well. So.
I see. Thank you. Thank you. And so, Kristine, we were talking about this just a little bit. For Delanco, where are going to be the in-person polling places that Delanco residents can go to vote?
Right. So we're shrinking from what I think was 6 locations ordinarily for 8 districts down to just 1 location, which will be at the municipal township building. And then for Riverside, they're going to be over at the fire department, the firehouse. So pretty accessible.
All right. Will people have to wear masks and abide by physical distancing guidelines there as well?
Absolutely. Masks, there's going to be hand sanitizers. They're taking all of the proper precautions. We've discussed them at length. So.
Yeah, and we've actually sent the personal protective equipment to our poll workers, so they'll have them there. And if a voter needs something, they can also get it from the poll workers. And since it is still an available polling place, if someone is disabled, there will be a machine there available for disabled voters. So that's still an option for them.
Great. That's amazing. Thank you for answering that one. Because that was like the huge, what is happening
Right.
in the elections. So thank you for answering that. And again, if anyone has any further questions, just go to the website, the Board of Elections, and I'm sure there's plenty of information there as well. So we'll keep going here on our list of questions. You guys are already doing great, so no need to, you've already broken the ice.
Okay, good.
So one thing that a lot of people are concerned with are really questioning our primaries and how they operate and how they work. So Claudia, can you tell us a little bit of how New Jersey primaries and elections work? How are they different from other states? I think this whole primary process can get people a little, confused, lost.
Sure. It is, absolutely. New Jersey is considered a closed state. So what that means is you have to declare a party before you can go, before you can vote. Before the pandemic, you were able to declare a party at the polls. But now you have to declare a party in advance, so that way you'll get the ballot affiliated to your party. So, for example, if you're a Democrat, then you'll get a Democrat ballot with just Democrat candidates. There are other states that are considered open states where you can basically pick and choose from different parties, or you can go back and forth. But New Jersey is not one of those states. You get a ballot for your party with only your party's candidates on it.
Oh, okay, I see. And thank you for. You said that New Jersey is a closed primary.
Right.
So the difference between open and, can you tell us a little bit the difference between open and closed primaries just for this?
Sure. The main difference, and the most important difference I should say, is when it's a closed primary, when it's a closed state, means you have to declare a party. You can't decide that day that I want to vote for this Republican, this Democrat. You have to vote your party line, or not your party necessarily. You have to vote your party for the election. So there's I can't say, well, I like that Republican better than this Democrat, or this Democrat better than that Republican. Your ballot is all the Democratic candidates or Republican candidates.
I see. As opposed to if it were an open state, you could just
vote back and forth if you wished, or you don't necessarily have to vote all one party.
I see.
For open states.
So because that actually answered the next question on the list, which was
okay.
So you two birds, one stone. So good job. Did you got and actually maybe Kristine, you could answer this one. Do you know why New Jersey the presidential primaries are always so late compared to other states?
I did look into this, having seen the question, and I'd like to say I don't know. I see that other states kind of go earlier, so they wind up having to have two primaries. So they have one for the presidential election, then should it be a congressional or state election year, they have to hold another one. So in New Jersey, my understanding is it's a little bit of a cost savings even to run them together at the end of the cycle. But if Claudia can speak to that more coherently, that would be fantastic.
There is a reason for it, and to be honest with you, I don't remember the exact terminology for it, but certain states, let's say, count more. So they're the ones that go first. So because they're waiting for those votes more than New Jersey and the other states that aren't necessarily first in line. So I have to remember for next time that what exactly that's called and why certain states go first. But it is like let's say Pennsylvania, they need those votes. They need to know what those votes are going to be first, or the states that have already voted. And I'm sorry that I can't answer that better, but it's one of those questions that I'm like, oh yeah.
That was a tough one.
It is a tough one. It is, but there is a reason why they do it that way instead of everyone across the state having election day on, the same day. There is a reason for that, and I just have to remember to memorize that for next time.
Oh, well, no, thank you. You both, I think, on that one. All right, well, that's good. That's very good. And speaking of primaries and votings, I think what a lot of people get caught up on are they don't know when this stuff is happening. They don't know when to vote. They don't know what the deadlines are. So I was hoping that maybe this could be a two-parter in terms of, what are the deadlines that people should know about for the upcoming primary? And maybe Claudia, you could give us a more New Jersey, like, hey, these are some of the deadlines you should look out for.
Sure.
Kristine, you could also sort of give us a more centralized in Delanco, in sort of this area.
Sure. Since Governor Murphy has made this a predominantly vote by mail election, you don't have to fill out a vote by mail application, which there was a deadline for if things would have been pre-pandemic. The main date to remember now is, two main dates. Voter registration has to be done by June 16th, which is Tuesday of next week. So you still have time. If the voter registration forms are available on the state website, also on the county website, there's a link to that. Our offices are not open to the public, but if you're going there for an election-related purpose, dropping off registration or a ballot, our offices are absolutely open. You can do that. And also to remember that primary election day is July 7th this year. It was changed from the 2nd of June to July 7th. So in order for us to count your ballot and for your voice to be heard in this election, your ballot has to be postmarked by July 7th.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm actually writing these down.
Okay.
Just for myself as well. And Kristine, are there any upcoming deadlines that just, the maybe Delanco residents or anyone in this area should be aware of coming up?
Nothing that deviates from what Claudia just said.
Great.
We're kind of hands tied by that.
It's pretty statewide. It's statewide for the registration and the election date.
Good. All right. I'm just want to cover the bases for the folks at home. Just always want to stop. I'm so sorry. That is my.
Okay.
Shh, stop it. He's like a little Maltese. He yaps. He thinks he's huge.
I have two Maltese mixes.
All right. Sorry about that. That was just a little.
Okay.
Welcome into my world. So I was wondering if you guys could give us some good resources for people to look up candidates, whether it be their platforms, especially when it comes to sort of localized candidates. I think a lot of times we like to focus on, this is what's happening in the executive branch. We all know November, there's a big election coming up, but a lot of folks miss out on those local, statewide, and sometimes even midterm elections. So what are some really good maybe resources, maybe websites that you guys could provide for us?
I'll speak to it first if you don't mind.
Sure, of course.
Right. So personally, when I'm looking to make a decision on a candidate, I'm looking to their Facebook pages, to their LinkedIn, because I like to make sure that the candidate that I'm casting a vote for is authentic. You know, their public and personal personas kind of mesh. On top of that, the Burlington County Times sends out a voter guide. So they'll send questions to the candidates and put together their responses, and then put together the voter guide for people to review. Fortunately, you know, in Delanco and Riverside, we're pretty small communities, so you really can't help but get to know the candidates. And if you haven't heard of the candidate and you're asking around and you can't figure out what they've been involved in, what they've been doing, maybe that tells you everything that you needed to know, right? They're just showing up and trying to come in. But really, the internet is a great place to start your search with Facebook and getting to know them. So just my 2 cents.
I agree with that. And I also would recommend, if you're like, for the primary, you know, Burlington County has a Democrat website. So if you Google Burlington County Dems, our website will come up. Every election, there's a blurb on who's up, who's running. Another resource that I like to use is the person's campaign page. You know, if let's say, you know, Cory Booker isn't running for president anymore, but his page was an excellent resource. Joe Biden's page is huge resource, basically saying what he's working on, what he believes in, his viewpoints on certain things, and also that, you know, CNN or other news sources that, you know, they may, you know, air their opinions and stuff like that. So you can, you know, you get more ways to look at a person's whole profile, like Kristen said, like, you know, their Facebook, does their personal life match their professional image, and you can make your decisions that way on who you trust enough to lead us in our next roles.
Yeah, thank you for that. There's a lot of information out there, and with information also comes misinformation, as we know in this age of
fake news.
So, I didn't want to say it. I was like, wait, I should just not say it. But yeah, obviously, I would just
do your homework. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
do your own research. Do your own research and make your own choices and decisions. There's lots of information out there. It's up to the individual voter, I feel, to get to know your candidate and get to know, you know, that's kind of funny how they always say this, but that's not what he says. And, you know, just make your own decisions when get your own education, and you're able to make your own decisions that way, instead of saying, they said they're not a good candidate, so I'm not going to vote for them. Like, no, you can do your own homework and figure out yourself. This is your voice that you're using. So you wouldn't say, you know, anything about your personal life that wasn't true. Same way for your voice, with your vote. You speak for yourself. Like, this is what I believe in. This is who I choose, and this is why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very inspirational. Thank you. I'm writing all of these down, taking notes. So I was hoping, next question, what does it mean to split a ballot, and how do you do that? Claudia, do you want to take this one?
Sure, I can. It's funny because this is something that, since we're a closed state, I wasn't that familiar with it, so I did have to do some homework on it. Basically, it means if you're voting Republican on one thing, Democrat on something else. And since we're a closed state, we don't do that here. It's all one party.
I see. That makes sense. I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
It's interesting though, since this is a closed state, you kind of, you know, for me personally, I don't know a lot of things that happen in other states unless I look it up, or unless it's like I'm at a meeting with people from other states. Then you're like, oh, I didn't know you guys could do that, or, you know, that kind of thing. But since it's like, you know, this is our environment, it's always, you know, as long as I've been voting, it's been a closed state. So it's kind of all you know. So it's like when someone asks you a question, it's like, oh, yeah, other people can do that. So, but.
Well, that is very, very good. So I wanted to ask, we have a question in the chat here. So is New Jersey a closed state for every single election, or just primaries?
It doesn't really, I don't want to use the word does it matter, but for primary, it has to be based on your party. But for general election, you can choose to vote different parties for candidates if you wanted to.
Oh, all right. Well, thank
but
you.
For primaries, you have to declare a party for a primary, so that makes it a closed state.
I see. All right, that makes sense. And I also have one for you, Kristine. How will the township notify Delanco residents if polling places change?
Right. I was a little surprised. I haven't seen anything come out yet, but it should be posted soon at our on the township webpage. A blast will go out there. If you're signed up to get the notifications, which everyone should be, for our township, you'd receive it via email, and it'll, as always, be posted on the door. But yeah, you'll be notified primarily through the website.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's get back to the list here. Can you register to vote before you turn 18?
You can. You can register to vote when you're 17, but you cannot vote until you turn 18.
That's what I thought too. I'm just making sure. That was just like one of those, like, those questions.
Yeah. Why not? Why not do it early and make sure that you're ready when you're 18? You're good to go. One less thing to worry about when you turn 18.
Yeah. I registered. Well, I thought, because I also believe that there's a way. When I got my probationary license, when I was at the DMV, that was another way that I also registered to vote, because there was just like a checkbox that said which license. I think that's also another way that folks can just register.
Absolutely. Yep. You absolutely can register through the DMV.
Oh, look at that. Bang. See, I've got a little bit, not as much knowledge as you guys, but just a little.
It takes years. It takes years to figure out. There's still so much to learn. Every single election, every single time, something you just learn more and more and more.
Yeah.
And then when there's a worldwide pandemic, you learn a lot more. More things happen, even more things to learn. So.
I agree. So can you vote in New Jersey if you have been to jail or are a convicted felon?
This is a new change that New Jersey made, where if you can vote if you're before this you couldn't vote if you were on probation, and now you can. So if you're not on probation or parole anymore, you certainly can register to vote and vote again. So that's a lot of people that are eligible to vote now. So I hope everybody gets that message and fills out a voter registration form and make sure their voice is heard too.
Yes, and that's. I'm glad. So when was that change made?
I believe it was earlier this year. I can't remember the exact date, but it's about 80,000 voters that are affected. So that's 80,000 new voters that can vote.
Wow, that is remarkable.
Don't quote me on that number, but for some reason 80,000 sticks in my head.
I'm already writing it down, so you're already.
so I'm committed.
You're already committed. I'm like, Claudia Castro told me about. No, it's all right. I won't put you on the spot like that.
Alrighty.
But so I was wondering, the next question is, how can I vote in New Jersey elections if I go to college out of state?
Vote by mail. You can vote by mail ballot sent to you at school. And since your residential address is New Jersey, you can go to school in Pennsylvania, Oregon, California, and you can have your ballot sent to you there. Just make sure that you send it back in time.
I see. Just make sure you send it back in time. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so that sort of answers because the next question is, am I able to vote in my college or university state instead of the New Jersey election?
Right. If where you are going to college is your permanent residence and you've changed your driver's license and that's where you live now, then you certainly can vote in that state. But if you still reside at your home address and you're just away for school, then you'd have to vote where your home address is.
I see. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Wow. I really didn't. I'm also learning stuff and I'm writing it down. So the next question is, and I'm not sure, it says, why can't you register to vote online for New Jersey? So what is the maybe Kristine, you could tell us a little bit about this. Why can you not register?
I believe Phil Murphy has a package that he's trying to push through now that would make registering online an option. I think there just hadn't been enough push behind it to overcome objections, thinking that it would be corrupted or what have you. So I believe that this is coming in the future.
I see. Thank you for that. Also, do you guys think, Kristine, I think I'm going to look at you for this one, so I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm coming for you. Is there anything that New Jersey can do on a local level to make voting easier for residents, for new voters, for young adults, who are coming in, are there any initiatives that maybe folks at the local level of government could be working on?
Absolutely. So we could be pushing a heavy emphasis on educating students so that they're prepared and ready to go vote as soon as they turn 18, that it shouldn't be a mystery that they're trying to unravel on their own. It's just too important to leave for them to guess at. And little changes that have come as a result of the pandemic, like mass vote by mail. I mean, this will be a good test pilot, but certainly will give more people access to exercise their right to vote moving forward. Online registration, same day registration. I mean, if you turn 18 a couple days before the election, why shouldn't you be able to show ID and get signed up and cast your vote same day? Other than some logistics like shortage of poll workers or what have you. But there's definitely some steps that could be taken to improve access.
Yeah. That is that's good. I think that's important aspect as well. I think so much gets lost in terms of voting, and folks just think that, hey, I'm voting in November, I've done my job. But there's a lot more that goes into it, and there's a lot more avenues in which you can exercise your voice. So thank you, Kristine. Claudia, I was wondering how a local county are affected by the way that you vote. So when you vote, what are some of if you're voting in your local or county elections, what are the changes people might be seeing? What are the things that might happen in a person's life that they are affected by the way that they vote?
Absolutely. Well, I think Kristen probably could have answered this better because local level is council. Those council people are appointed to mayor. So you're very much saying one of these people that you've selected to be a council person for your town could be your mayor. So it starts right there. The mayor makes decisions for the entire town. So it really, everything does kind of start at the local level and then just gets bigger and, spreads out to further. You want to help me out here?
Right.
Deputy Mayor.
Sure. So I agree. Everything starts at your local level. So when you're casting that ballot and you're electing, me or whomever to serve on the township committee, we're voting on the budget. We're voting on what programs get attention this year. We're hiring professionals, the engineers, the consultants, the lawyers for the town. If a new police officer needs to be hired, that's us. If somebody needs to be let go because they're not performing for the town, that's us. So, and similarly, not to give us too much credit now, but we take the residents' concerns and can escalate them to the next level. So we're an intermediary for the higher offices, so we can propel our issues into a more public, a bigger spotlight. So, and that's how laws are born.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really, really good. A quick question came up that I think I'd like to ask you. Kristine has a follow-up in the chat. What are some things that are covered by the budget, that are in the budget?
Everything. It all comes back down to money. So for our town, what roads get repaired, our EMS budget, if there's going to be any sewer work done, or even, we live in a great little community where we have a recreation commission, and they put on countless programs throughout the year for our residents. Our summer concert program that comes out of a budget. If you've ever done the horse carriages along the river during the winter, these beautiful little things that make Delanco, a quaint little town, that's all coming in our budget. And when we discuss, what needs to be cut because we just can't raise the tax rate, we decide what's on the chopping block with input from those departments, those commissions, people that show up to meetings.
Thank you for that. So the next two questions are pretty much, so I'll just read them to you. It says, how can a young adult be more politically engaged in Burlington County? And then it says, how can a young adult be more politically engaged in a small town? Is there a difference between like how can I be politically engaged in my county as opposed to how I can be politically engaged in my small town. If so, maybe Claudia, you could talk about, hey, here's some things that you could do that could benefit the county, that you can be a citizen of Burlington County. And then maybe Kristine, you could talk about some of the local stuff that we could be doing as Delanco residents. So maybe Claudia, you could start us off.
Sure. One thing, everyone can take part of campaigns. There's always help needed to make phone calls, to help with mailings, so it's also a way to learn more about your candidate too, whether you're, a Democrat and you want to help the Democrats, so you can contact the Democrat chair and they can, put you in touch with another, let's say county committee or someone else, or even in touch with the candidate, so you can get started working with them. And it's a great way to learn about what everything it takes to become elected. Like it's so much work, and every single candidate does nothing but like hours and hours of phone calls, walking. They always talk about how many pairs of shoes they go through, because this is like, and how many miles. Like everyone has like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or something. They keep track of like miles and miles, because the best way to get someone to trust you with their vote is to know them. So what better way for me to come for a senator to come knock on your door? You're like, I met him, he is amazing. Like my favorite senator, Senator Troy Singleton, I can't tell you how many miles he's walked just so people know him, the name recognition. They're like, he came to my house. They're like, the senator came to your house? Yes, he did. That's how he got elected. He was first an assemblyman and then Senate, because people know you and they trust you, and you get to know, become part of the community and everything like that. So it starts there. There's always something to do. There's always something to learn. Just, if you don't know, call somebody. Call my office, and I'm happy to point you in the direction of, Burlington County Democrat chair and get you started there.
That's great. Thank you. Kristine?
Hey, that was a great answer. So if you're looking to get involved in a county or a local election, just I can add very little to that, but I would say look around for what's already out there in your town, in your community. When I moved to Delanco, I was all over our website. I looked at the commissions. I looked at what positions were available for a volunteer. I joined our Democratic club. I joined the women's club because civic engagement was something that I found to be important. I started a Girl Scout troop because teaching girls how to be leaders and to speak up is important. So as a youth looking to get more engaged and involved, just find what you're passionate about. And if it doesn't already exist, then, do what the young ladies that did the Black Lives Matter protest in Delanco. We didn't have one, and they created it, and we all turned up. So it just needs a little spark to get going.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. So thank you both for adding that. So I wanted this question. I wanted to pose to both of you one of those two-parter ones again, so you guys can kind of work off each other if you'd like. In your opinion, why do you think turnout for young adults, for younger voters, is just so low?
Do you want to take that, Deputy Mayor?
It is the $1 million question. I think every podcast, every NPR, they analyze this ad nauseum, right? Everyone wants to know how to get the youth vote out. And, the I voted stickers, those helped a little bit. But at the end of the day, I find that the youth vote or young voters are idealistic and progressive, and they want change fast. And I'm right there with you, but with a little bit of age, I found that you're not going to find your 100% perfect candidate. But what you can do is find the person that best aligns with what you're trying to accomplish, and then work your way in there. Be the bug in their ear to teach them something new, to try to inspire the change and get them to come around to your position. Like, for instance, Joe Biden is not anybody's first choice for president, but we can trust that through his wisdom and years and decades of experience, he's going to build a great candidate with all of those, or great cabinet with all those people that we did fall in love with during the primary season. And, we'll see Andrew Yang again. We're going to see, Elizabeth Warren again in some capacity, right? He's going to build a cabinet. So I encourage the youth to get out and vote, even though there may not be, there doesn't exist a perfect candidate.
Right. If I could add to that, I think young people are afraid their vote doesn't count, or they may not know enough about a candidate, or they say, oh, my one vote isn't going to matter. It does. It absolutely does matter. And, my friend gave me a quote earlier today, and I can't find it right now, but you have to take part. You cannot complain about a government when you didn't do anything about it. Like, even if you vote and your candidate doesn't win, you stood up for something, you used your voice, and this is what you want to see, in a president or in a congressman or in a senator. Like, you want to see these things, so you vote for them. Like, your vote absolutely does count. And if for whatever reason you feel like you're not heard, then get with other young people, talk about what your concerns are, and then all of you guys vote. And then, you'll see there is power in numbers, like we all have to vote. And it's just, I wish I could, I wish there was a way that to tell everybody, like, they're like, yeah, right, sure it does, sure it does. It really does. Honestly, we count every single vote that comes into our office. People are like concerned with provisional ballots and things like that. Every single vote that comes in our office gets counted. Of course, some ballots are rejected, but not because you didn't vote. It's because of, you didn't sign it or something like that. But it's so important to vote, and you start when you're 18. Make it a part of your life. Make it something, not just for the president. There's, municipal elections, school elections. If you make it a part, make it a habit. Every time there's an election, you have a voice. You're going to use your voice at every single election. And before you know it, you're going to be counting down the days to election day, and you're going to have, you know who your candidates are, and you're ready to go, and you'll share that information with your neighbor or a friend. And, there's like, your votes multiply when everybody's doing the same thing.
Yeah. Wow, that was pretty good. And the quote that you were,
let me find it. I have to find it. It's one. I have to say I stole it from my friend, Senator Singleton. He says, "If you just observe, then you get the government you deserve." So I had to steal that from him because that's a really good one. It's a good one. You have to be part of this. It's not just something to observe, and especially not to complain about. When you had a chance to do something, you had a chance to share your opinions, and you had a chance to go to the polls and really make your voice count.
Yeah.
If you don't, then you get what's coming,
Yeah. My mother always said that the best way to preserve our democracy is to participate in it. And so
That's great.
I was like,
I want to
all
write that one down.
that's too bad. It's just a little Mama Carter wisdom for the folks at home. But, we're talking about this, in terms of younger voters and this, how do we get them to us, really? I'm like them. I'm like, I'm not a part of this.
Yeah.
I'm a little too old. But how do we get younger voters to turn out? And I think a lot of it has to do with folks are not yet sure of, the Electoral College and what that is. And so I was wondering, a lot of people are asking, could you explain like the Electoral College and why it is that the United States uses this, what seems to be quite odd mechanism in a presidential election?
Yeah, that is, it's hard to explain. And I had to find the answer to that because, it's like the Electoral College and popular vote and things like that. It's like, so the answer to the Electoral College is let me just read it. And I am way older than you, so I do need my glasses. So the Electoral College is a body of electors established by the United States Constitution, which forms every 4 years for the sole purpose of electing the president and vice president of the United States. What does that mean? Let's keep reading.
We're all out together.
Exactly. It's there, and that's one of the things, like, well, when you don't understand something, it's easy to say, well, I don't know what that is. Like, well, let's all learn about it. You never stop learning.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. I'm looking at some of our chat questions here that I wanted to quickly bring up. It says, and maybe this is for, I think this might one be for you, Kristine. Will the township consider creating a Facebook page or an Instagram page to share upcoming news and events? Because this may hit the younger generation and may have a larger impact.
Hey, that's a really good idea and definitely something that we'll discuss. Who even heads to websites anymore other than me when I'm moving to a new town? But yeah, Facebook is a challenge because if any residents are active on Facebook, they're on our Residents of Delanco page. So the assumption is all of us are monitoring that, on the township level, but the reality is we're not. You have to escalate your issue to our attention via some normal, forum. So I haven't heard any discussion about starting a Facebook page or an Instagram, but it's definitely worth considering, especially if we're going to be doing a lot more remote things in the future, thanks to the pandemic. So thanks to the idea.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm also seeing another question up here, and I think it ties in. Are there any tips or ways to get our schools more involved in terms of maybe voting? I think the pretext to this is I think a lot of younger people don't vote because our schools don't teach us about it anymore.
Right.
So are there ways that we can get our school involved, maybe our teachers, faculty, and staff involved in educating on what voting is and knowing that there isn't just, a presidential election to go to. There's a plethora of other elections to vote in besides just the one in November. Are there any ways that we can get our schools actively more involved in educating our kids?
Yeah, at the township level, I believe when students are in 7th grade, they are invited to participate in an election, and then the winners for each class or wind up coming to a township meeting and sitting up on the dais and learning, in real time what the business of the town is. But what I'd love to see in the future is a student member of the school board who, can, because we straddle Riverside and Delanco, especially at that high school level, that would be able to carry over concerns and discuss things like, putting financial literacy, putting voter literacy into the program. So yeah, it's definitely something that we should be looking into.
Yeah. Thank you. Good answer. Solid answer. Loving it. So next question going up also sort of ties into what we're talking about here. There's been a lot of discussion in the media and online about the idea of sort of throwing away your vote, right? What is a throwaway vote? By not voting for either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. So what does this mean, and what are your thoughts on this? Claudia, what do you think?
Anytime you don't vote, you're throwing away your voice, you're throwing away opportunity. You're basically saying, now for president, we have our choice of Donald Trump or Joe Biden. Well, people say, well, I'm not comfortable with this, or I don't like this, I'm not going to vote for Biden. You're giving your vote to Trump, or if you're saying, well, I don't like this person, you're not voting is giving your vote to opposition or someone that you wouldn't necessarily vote for. So it basically is just giving your vote away. So you're not even, I'm trying to think of how to word it, but it's one less vote for somebody that you wanted to win. So it's one more vote for the person that you're, why am I so tongue-tied?
You're fine. You're fine.
You're really just throwing your vote away. You're giving it to the person that, you didn't want to win. Them, her emails or her this or her that. I'm not voting for that. And,
Yeah.
oh, look what you did. Look what happened. So you're voting for someone. You're giving your vote away. You're giving it to somebody that you don't necessarily believe in because you didn't bother. You just basically just didn't bother. So.
Yeah. Kristine, you have any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I'm guilty of shaking my fist at friends for voting third party or not voting at all because they didn't like Hillary Clinton in 2016, and sadly we all got the government that we deserved as a result of it. right, wrong, or indifferent, we do have a two-party system. We might not like it, but this is where we're at. It's strong. It's enmeshed in our society, and your choice is a Democrat or a Republican. And until the Electoral College is abolished, which would take a radical step, these are your choices. So I implore you to find something that you can identify with in one of the two candidates, and then work to change their policy positions to come around to what you idealize as your perfect candidate.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's really it's really good to sort of know. All the staggering numbers of the amount of folks that didn't vote in the last presidential election. About half of registered voters just decided not to vote. You think of all of the the numbers, the which way the tide really could have turned, or how the election could have been different by having that half of registered voters. So I would definitely
Exactly.
say. There's another question here that I'd like to see, since we're already talking about young people. And I'm not including myself. I'm all right. I'm very.
You should include yourself.
So the question is, how can young people volunteer with candidates to aid in their campaigns? Kristine, I see you over there. You're like, I'm ready to go. Tell me what's going on.
The internet, Facebook candidate pages. I mean, everyone is just out there looking for help. If anyone that wasn't already part of my Democrat club had approached me when I was running for office and said, hey, can I come knock on doors or pass out literature with you, I would have jumped at the opportunity. And I would imagine most campaigns, especially at the federal level, just they're looking for calls, they're looking for door knockers. Just check the county websites, check Facebook pages for your candidates that you want, and their websites as well.
Exactly.
I think that's great. I actually worked on a campaign once. I worked on Andy Kim's campaign for Congress back when I was a younger lad.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah. So I worked. It was actually a summer gig. So I got paid. I made phone calls. I did canvassing. I handed out literature. It was actually pretty cool to be a part of that. So if anyone's thinking about volunteering for campaigns, there are so many local campaigns happening right now that it's really nuts. So,
and everyone needs help. Candidates can't win by themselves. Like, you need a team. So you can always sign up for their teams. I've never met a candidate that says, oh, I have plenty of people. Everybody needs help.
Volunteers coming out my ears. Can't possibly have another one. I've never heard that.
Exactly. Way too many people.
Good. So whoever asked that question, I don't see the name, but there are plenty of obviously campaigns happening, and plenty of elections, and plenty of work to be done. So get in it. It's a lot of fun.
It is fun.
So we're coming up on the end of our amazing dialogue, and the last question is kind of I don't want to say cliche, but it sort of allows you to say your closing statements, if you will. So the question is, and this is for both of you. I really like if both of you could answer. Do you have any advice to new voters, young adults, or people in general who are sort of on the fence or who aren't yet so sure about voting?
Kristine, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I would say that every spark comes from somewhere. Every fire comes from some spark, and your decision to get involved in politics or activism can make a world of difference. So I would just think that something simple, like if you're interested in climate change, go find a rally, go find some way to make a difference in that arena. If you're interested in a Black Lives Matter movement. Go get involved. There's no shortage of ways to be involved. And if you're on the fence about voting, call me. I will talk your ear off about the importance of voting and being involved in your community and helping shape the direction of your community. I mean, we all want a nice place to live and come home to after a hard day at work, and that comes from citizens being involved and bringing their concerns forward.
I agree. Like we said earlier in this meeting, the best way is learn about your candidates, learn about your party, learn what you agree with, what you don't agree with. Have, one way or another, have a voice. It's easy to sit in the middle, and it's easy to say, I don't know, and I'm not going to, I'll let somebody else make decisions. Be a part of the process, be a part of the decision making. Ask questions, ask your parents, ask your family, who they like, why. And if you agree with them or don't agree with them, take that information to decide for yourself which candidate you like. Just don't sit back and let other people make the decisions for you. Take part, and this is so important. People fought for the right to vote, and we haven't. Now people take it for granted. Like, no, it's so important. Everything we do starts with who we have in office.
Yeah, those are really, really powerful statements. Thank you for answering all of these questions. You guys got A for effort.
Thank you so much for having us.
No, it's a pleasure. If anyone has any more questions, please put them down in the chat. We do have, again, if you're sort of, I had to let some people in. We have Claudia Castro here, who's the Democratic Administrator for the Burlington County Board of Elections. Mouthful.
Yeah, it takes up the front and back of my business card.
We also have Kristine Holland here, who's the Deputy Mayor for Delanco Township. Please get out there and vote, folks. This is, we are living through extraordinary times. And again, I think you guys have I can only echo what you guys have said. The presidential election is not the only one that matters. It matters, but it isn't the only one. And, if anyone wants to see some change happening, start to happen, it really starts at your local and state level. So
100%.
But if no one has any more questions, I'd like to thank Claudia and Kristine for being here. Thank you. You guys were great, phenomenal. And I'd like to thank, everyone who organized this. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. And I think we're going to wrap up. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the information, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
See you at the polls.
Yeah, the polls. Bye, everyone. Take care.
See you later.
Bye-bye.